Hey guys, so I filmed a video and I posted it this morning, and then I realized this morning that I needed to take it down right away because it was brought to my attention that I had made a really big mistake, which is typical of me. But that's okay because Jesus turns water into wine and he'll turn my sewage water into wine too. He always does. Anyway, I'm going to repost the same video that I already posted. I'm not going to take anything out of it because I don't believe anything that I said was incorrect, but I do think this topic needs to be greatly prefaced, that this is not a, oh, well, God is so merciful at the end of my life. That means that I can just do whatever I want, and this is the best news ever. Like, I don't have to follow the commandments that are really hard for me to follow. I don't have to give up the sins that I'm really attached to because I know at the last moment of my death, like, God is still going to be merciful to me, like, because that's just who he is. Like, that right there is a very dangerous attitude to have because, first of all, it's a dangerous attitude to have because Scripture does say that to whom much is given, much will be expected. And so if you are somebody who is a Christian, like who has been given the truth, like who knows that these things are, who knows the commandments, like you are expected to begin to live heaven, the life of heaven already on earth. You're expected to begin to strive your best to love God with all your heart, and part of that loving God with all your heart is inseparable from following the things that you know that he has commanded you to do. And the thing is that a lot of people do presume his mercy, right? A lot of Christians do presume that God is so good and he'll just never, he wouldn't let me go to hell. Like, sinning is so, like, hard not to do. Okay, well, this is a lie of the devil, and this is a way that the human soul works that we don't really think about, but this is the truth. The demons want you to presume God's mercy. They want you to just live a reckless life and just presume that he's going to be there to save you. Yeah, in the end, which, like, technically he is. That is his heart, and he loves everybody. But the thing is that if you decide to adopt that belief, what is going to happen to your heart? I'm telling you, this is what is going to happen to your heart. You will begin to be hardened against God. That is a very dangerous door to open. And the love that you have for him within your heart, every time you choose to do something that you know God does not want you to do, with full knowledge of it, your heart is being sapped of any love of God, okay? You are changing yourself, because every time you sin, you are making yourself someone who turns away from God, who turns in on themselves, and you are training your heart to do that, all right? You are not loving God. Now, what I'm going to say in this video is that at the end of every soul's life, like, God gives them, like, the full knowledge, the full truth. And, like, honestly, I think this is first and foremost an act of great mercy for souls who never, like, really knew the full thing. Like, for some reason or another, they weren't given the truth. Okay, that's really, like, who this is really tailored to. But for people who do know and who are hardening themselves, like, yes, if you are hardening yourself and training yourself not to love God and practicing not loving God, that is very prideful. That is a very prideful attitude to have. Presuming on God's mercy is prideful, and at the end of the day, like, this last decision that you have to make, it is is your heart disposed to love God? And it's true that you will have the choice, but oh my goodness, in that last moment, when everything is, like, the most tense, and this is the most important decision of your life, you do not want to be in a position where you have hardened yourself to God. Yes, it's true that God will forgive you if you decide that you want to love him. Like, he will forgive you for breaking his heart, for presuming his mercy, for walking all over him. But you will have to be in purgatory for a long time, if you even make it there. Because truly, while the decision will always be yours, God will not send anybody to hell. Like, if you have practiced hardening your heart to God by deliberately sinning, I am telling you, you are setting yourself up for something really bad. You are hardening your heart. You will begin to be hardened against God, and you will become like a hard rock against God. Your heart will eventually become a hardened rock that's very almost impossible to move if you presume God's mercy, because what you're really doing is, if you listen to this message, okay, maybe you shouldn't listen to this message if if you're not ready to hear it, because if you listen to this message and then say to yourself, okay, this is great, I am going to live my life however I want to, wow, Jesus is so merciful. Like, this is really like the depth of the love of his heart. Wow, that's incredible. I am going to trample all over it. I'm going to spend my whole life knowing this wonderful, amazing love of Jesus, but I'm not going to do anything to try to love him back. I'm just going to use him. I want to use God's love. I want to, like, say, take this as a get into heaven free card. Jesus died for me on the cross, and you know what? I'm just going to add as many intentional, like, more scourges to his bleeding body, and I'm gonna break his heart by saying, thank you for loving me, Jesus. I'm not gonna love you back, because really loving God is doing what we know he has commanded us to do. Okay, so this, if you are a Christian, if you really do know what God wants you to do not presume his mercy. Do not, like, deliberately sin. Deliberate sin is absolutely awful. It is the worst thing for our relationship, and it is something that will lead you to hell because you are hardening your heart, okay? It actually puts you in a place that is far more dangerous than all of the atheists out there who honestly, genuinely don't know God and who are living, like, objectively, like, awful lives, right? That's why if you're hearing this message, then it means that this message is for you, like, one way or the other. If you're hearing this message and you are a Christian, someone who really knows, like, the commandments of God, like, this is telling you that if you are intentionally committing even venial sins, like, if you have not come to a point in your life where you have really decided that you are convicted that you do not want to sin, all right? You never want to sin a day in your life because you know what it does to Jesus. You need to get to that place. If you're a Christian, then you need to get to that place, because deliberate sin is a very dangerous path to go down. It's hardening your heart so that in that last moment, you are less and less and less likely to open up and accept the mercy of God, right? Whereas a person, if you're listening to this video and you're a person who's absolutely terrified of the concept of God, and because Christians, quote unquote, Christians have like judged you and condemned you and like, told you that you're damned to hell, and you are honestly watching this video and you don't even know if God is real, like, I'm telling you that, like, God loves you, and this next message is really, like, primarily for you. Hey guys, my name is Faustina, and I am a crazy kid on a mission. Today I feel inspired to defend the true heart of my Jesus. I was raised in a Christian Catholic household, and like many who are raised in that kind of environment, I was taught from the very beginning that God is love. That was kind of like the most basic central reality that everything else kind of revolves around. It's like, God is love. Not only that, he is all-powerful. He made everything. He is full of compassion, full of mercy. He is the most tender and loving of fathers. He understands us all better than we understand ourselves, and he also is the one who holds all of eternity in existence. He holds this world together. He allows everything in the world to happen the way that it happens, and he specifically has a plan for everyone, and he guides and directs the paths of all of his creatures. He loves one soul as much as he loves all souls together. These are all very basic things that were very easy for me to accept as a child, and I believed them all with all my heart. But as I got older, I don't think I realized that this belief, that these core beliefs were starting to be shaken, but as I look back, I think on a subconscious level, they really were. Like, around the time that I entered college, I think I started to feel very uneasy about a lot of things. And these true beliefs that I had growing up as a kid were also kind of mixed in with some lies that were not really true, but I believed them, or I thought I was supposed to believe them, that were told to me from different, like, Catholic or Christian leaders and, like, teachers, and just the general attitude of, like, Christians that I was exposed to and, like, lived with growing up. Like, I started to believe some of these lies, and basically, like, the lies that I'm talking about, like, they're very subtle, and it's all very, like, mysterious, and not super black and white, but the thing is like, there's a certain attitude in Christianity that does see things in a very, very black and white way, and particularly the most important thing ever, basically, like, one of the most important things ever, which is the salvation of souls. Like, what is, like, how do you get to heaven, and, like, what will send you to hell? I've been told before that you have to be a baptized Catholic to make it to heaven, because salvation is only found through the Catholic Church. I've also been taught before that, well, baptized Christians can be saved too, but you have to at least be baptized in the name of God in order to be saved, and if you're not, then, like, too bad, you're going to be lost. I've also been taught too, like, well, you can be baptized Christian, but you have to, like, do everything right. You can't commit certain kinds of sins, and if you do, then you better go to confession in time, because if you die in a state of, like, grave sin, that means you're going to go to hell. But if a priest happens to get there, like, the minute before you die and you're able to give your confession, then you'll get to go to heaven. Like, but it's really only a matter of, were you able to fill in this box, like, in time or not? Like, that's just a very black and white, this is how you get to heaven, and this is the safety nets that God has given us to get to heaven. And, like, it's true, yeah, he paid for our salvation, but you have to do the right things in order to earn it. And if you don't, then you're lost, and there's no second chances. Like, your life basically is your chance. Like, yeah, so you better live it right. You better have been told this information. You better, like, yeah, you better know that the Catholic Church is the only church, and that you have to, like, go to confession in order to, like, get your mortal sins taken away to get to heaven. And you better, or, like, on another scale, another thing that I kind of thought was maybe the truth was, like, you have to be baptized Christian, and you have to just do your best and, like, not do anything bad, you know, basically, to get to heaven. You have to earn your way. Like, that's what, just an attitude that was kind of, like, shared with me in certain circles, and it seemed like a lot of different people had a lot of different opinions about this, and it was a very, very wide spectrum, and I didn't really know what to believe, but I was feeling uneasy about the whole thing. I felt uneasy about that as a kid, like, having to check in all the boxes and everything, and just the rigidity and the black and whiteness of this whole eternity thing. But it was really, like, when I got to college, that these things started to really hit very close to home, because, like, I became friends, like, with a lot of people who were born in very, very different circumstances than I was, and who had radically different, like, beliefs and way of living their lives than I had. I mean, like, look outside and see, like, what the culture is. Like, the culture itself is, like, super, super far gone. You know, it's crazy. It's so anti-God. It's so, like, full of sin, just as, like, the way of life. And, like, I was around all these people who were, like, really considered normal, and, like, I got to know them, like, some of them on a really deep level, and, like, I loved them so much. And, like, not only that, it's like I could really, really understand, like, their perspectives, and, like, where they were coming from, and, like, how they were raised. Like, this is, like, a really, really extreme example, but, like, this is actually a person that I've met before. I have actually met a person who was injected with heroin as an infant baby, and, like, they were injected with it over and over again to the point that they became severely addicted to it, and, like, they became heroin addicts, you know, of course. Like, they grow up to be that way, and, like, you know, like, that leads to the road of, like, homelessness and prostitution, and, like, I don't know, like, where this person is, but, like, I know that's how a lot of people end up in gangs. That's how a lot of people end up, like, doing awful, awful things, like, heinous things, like, killing people, like, you know, becoming prostitutes, having abortions, like, and that's obviously, like, a very, very extreme example, but, like, the point is, like, I got to know these people, and I got to know, like, their backgrounds, and, like, why they believed the things that they did. And, like, something that I uncovered a lot, like, super deeply within a lot of them, was that, like, a lot of them were actually raised, like, in a Christian household or in a Catholic household, but it's like that faith was not given to them in the same way that it was given to me. Like, a lot of these people have experienced, like, people in the church that are supposed to show them the love of God, like, are the same ones that abuse them severely, and so they're left with this, like, this idea of God that's, like, is he even real? Like, is he, like, he can't be loving if he let this happen, and, like, this person is supposed to show me the love of God, like, this person is supposed to be, like, like, my priest, like, maybe it's a priest, you know, there's a sexual abuse scandal going on in the church, and, like, really, people are really, really showing an awful image of who God is to young and, like, innocent minds who are trying to discover the reality of the world. Anyway, so I had these friends in my life who, yeah, were really, really different than me. And the more I got to know them, I experienced like this love for them, like in my heart, that was like a love unlike the way that I've loved like other people before. Like it was just like this like profound compassion for all of them, and like this profound like understanding of them, and like just like this sympathy and like this like empathy, like this feeling for them. It's like, you are so far from God, you're so far from the truth, like, but like I have so much compassion for you because like I see why, and like so like the thing is like where like this kind of almost like an existential like crisis or like question like was stirring in my mind around this time, like trying to reconcile or wrestling with like these two like extremes, like these people that I'm with that I see that like that I love so much and have so much compassion for, but then like this like checking the box thing. And of course like I've been given the truth, like I've been given the Catholic faith, I've been given the Christian faith, like I'm supposed to be the one that like brings them to God, like that's my job, I have to do that. And so now and I didn't know how to do that. It was almost like I would feel just like this pressure kind of began to be placed on me, and like my heart was placed in this very tense and difficult position because like I was like, I need to help you check all the boxes, like I care so much about you, but it's like it seemed like that was such an impossible thing for me to do because like a lot of these people like they don't want to hear anything about God because like, and for a lot of reasons, like their heart has been hardened to the idea of Christianity, like for one reason or another. And like like I said, I think, and for the cases of like a lot of these friends of mine, I could see, and like from what they had shared, it's like the reason that they didn't want to talk about Christianity was because of how badly they had been hurt by the church, by people in the church, like and so like here I was wrestling with this question of like, okay, well, are they going to be lost or not? This is like, it's kind of like too bad for them. Like if they don't, they need to wake up and accept Jesus soon and like come back to church soon, because if they don't, then they're going to be damned in hell for all of eternity. And like, I'm the one who has to do something about it because I was placed in their life. And like, if I don't save them, then nobody will. Like, that's kind of like the idea that I was getting from these like preachers and teachers, like go proclaim the good news and like make everybody come back to church and check in all the boxes. But like I could sense very easily that I was not going to be able to do that. And then I just like started having this question, or like just this, I think this is what really, really made me start to realize that there is no way that God is this check in the boxes kind of thing, is because here I am, this like girl who's not perfect in any way, like who doesn't like have pure love, like who is not like a saint, and like he is the one that died for them. Like, it's ridiculous. It became very clear to me because I realized like, this compassion and this love and this way that I feel about them, this perspective that I have for them, like obviously this is from God, because this can't be coming from me, because it's impossible for a creature to be like, to love more than God does and to have a greater like compassion than God does. Okay, so basically that's kind of how I came to reconcile, and I came to the realization that like, it's not so black and white. It's not a robotic thing. Like, you don't have to check in all these boxes to like be saved. Okay, so that was basically my personal journey of like coming to how I came to understand like how merciful God is and like his true character. But after I had that internal experience, I was actually led to some writings from some mystics, some saints, who actually confirmed this for me. And so this, you may not know who this is, but this is actually Saint Faustina. So this is the person that I was named after. And Jesus appeared to her. There's a picture of him. There's blood and water flowing out of his heart, the red and the white, to signify the blood and water that poured out of his heart when he was pierced by a lance on the cross. Signifies the mercy that he has for us. He shed every single drop. Jesus appeared to St. Faustina because he saw a problem within his church, within the members of his church. His children, he had seen like throughout the years, like had grown to see God as this just taskmaster type judge. Yes, it's true that God is justice, and it's true that our sin deserves like infinite punishment, but people were beginning to be so hyper-focused on that aspect of God that they were forgetting his mercy, and in some cases almost like throwing his mercy out the window, like when really the main message that he gave to St. Faustina in this whole diary for his children in the church and outside of the church, really for everyone, his message for everyone is that God's greatest attribute is his mercy, which is overflowing love. His mercy is like it's far more vast and deep, and it's what he prefers to use, like far, far, far over his justice. Like that was his justice. That was the type of justice that he delighted in using, was him dying on the cross. He wanted to feel the justice that was due, like to pay the price for the sins in himself. He didn't want us to have to pay for it in hell. Like he takes no delight in exercising justice. He's all mercy, he's all love, and that's his predominant quality. But people in the church just were distancing themselves from him. That was the issue. It's like there was a huge lack of trust in the world against God because they just had the wrong idea about him, and that's why he came to Saint Faustina. He calls her the secretary of his divine mercy, because he wanted to speak to her about his mercy and have her write it down so that the church could read it and get to understand God on a deeper level, really the way that he is in the scriptures, like who he is, like who his heart really is, the church people in the church had kind of forgotten about. So I highly recommend reading this diary, because it's chock full of Jesus's love letter to humanity, particularly his love letter to souls who are hardened in sin, to souls who are afraid of him, to souls who don't, who are afraid to be in his presence because of like all the bad things that they've done. Like, this is the heart of Jesus right here. I wanted to read about something. There's another book that I'm obsessed with, that I love. It's another mystic named Luisa Picaretta. Jesus appeared to her and told her a whole lot of things, which I will be making other videos about later. But one of the things he told her is like something very similar to what he told Saint Faustina before in her diary. But he told her about what actually happens at the last moment of like every single soul's life. It just brought me, when I read this, it just brought me profound like consolation, and it just made everything make perfect sense. Like all the concerns I had and the questions I had about like, what about these people? Like, what about most people, honestly, like in the world today that are not given a real understanding of God? Like, the atheistic lie is really pumped so deep in our culture. It's like most people like don't really have a chance, like unless they're really raised in a good home that like teaches them these things, like or if they're lucky enough to like stumble across something that's like really convincing themselves, like a lot of people are just walking around blind, and they don't really know if God is real or not, and the truth is that God is not going to punish them, damn them in hell for all of eternity, because they failed to open their eyes and to see beyond the super, super deceptive, tricky lies of our culture. All of this being said, I don't want this to make it out that like everybody's saved, God understands, everybody's going to get to heaven. That's absolutely not the case. Like, you absolutely have to accept Jesus's mercy, profess him as Lord, and repent of all your sins, like before you die, before you enter eternity. That is absolutely a must. And there are many souls who are damned in hell for all of eternity. That's the truth. But the truth is that it's not most. It is not most. Many, but not most. And really, 3 souls would be many in Jesus' eyes, because he loves each and every one soul as much as he loves all souls put together. He bled out and died for each and every soul. And like, even if there were only one soul that existed in the face of the planet, he would have bled out all of his blood just the way that he did on the cross for that one soul. It doesn't matter to him, like the number. I'm going on. No, I could never go on enough. I'm not going on too much. I'm not even scratching the surface, but basically, I want to express, this is from if you're interested in reading it, it's from volume 35 in the Book of Heaven, which is the book that it's the revelations that Jesus gave to Louisa, similar to Divine Mercy, wanting her to know deeper things. Volume 35, March 22nd, 1938 is the reading where this comes from, if you want to check it out yourself. But basically, the way that Jesus treats every single soul at the moment of their death is incredible. He wants everyone to be saved, and while it's true everybody has to like accept and believe in him like before they enter eternity, like he is God, he is all powerful, he is all love, he is all compassion, and he is one who will pull out all the stops for everyone. And so what he does for souls who are, on the brink of falling into hell, like because of the way they live their lives, because they haven't accepted Jesus and like his mercy in their lives, is that he allows them at the moment when their soul is like about to leave their body, like this person sees Jesus as the kind, most merciful, loving Savior, and he's just looking at them with so much piercing tenderness that Jesus says it's enough that many souls just melt there. They don't know how much he loves them, but in that moment they can actually see and they fully experience how much he loves them. And it's like their entire soul is given like a perfect infusion of knowledge of like how much God loves them, and they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's real. Like they know this isn't some like trick. They don't use their mind anymore. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like God is real. This is who God is. Not only that, God shows them like every single moment of their life. They're able to see like all the sins that they've done. They're also able to see how God really was showering them with grace like all the time. Like he never stopped. It's not just this moment that he was showering them with grace, trying to help them to like convert and to love him. He was doing it their entire life. And this soul is able to look back. It's like the life flashes before, they say your life flashes before your eyes, and it's true. Like Jesus confirms it here in these writings. He says the soul is given a full glimpse of like their entire life. They see how much they've hurt God, and they see how much God has loved them, and they see everything that Jesus suffered for love of them, and how mostly they see that God is not like angry at them in the sense of like he's not like, you did all this to me, like, and I'm resentful. There's not a hint of resentment. They see all this, and they just see that all he is merciful. He doesn't want to condemn, and Jesus is right there in front of them, and all they have to do is to say, yes, I accept your mercy and I want to love you. Not only that, but they are also given full knowledge of hell. Like they know what hell is, they see it, they know that it's forever, they know how much they'll suffer, and they'll know that they're given that, like that they could choose that if they wanted to. And they're also shown heaven and how amazing it is and how it's forever, and like just a glimpse of like what the happiness would be like for them. They know that it's real. And in that last moment, he also shows you purgatory. I wanted to add this. I didn't include this in the first time. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, it's revealed to Louisa that the soul also sees that purgatory is real. And like, for those who don't understand what purgatory is, like really, purgatory is the ultimate mercy of God, and that's why it allows for this grand act of mercy at the last moment of death to even be possible, right? Because nothing impure can enter the presence of God. Like we can't be in heaven if our heart is not fully for him, right? And so yeah, if this purgatory is meant to be a last minute catch, right? To purify the soul so that they can be ready for heaven, so that their love for God that they exhibit in that moment can come to full perfection, right? And so, yes, they're also shown purgatory. It's the greatest mercy of God. They know all of these things, and they're given full choice. Like literally all that they need to do is say, like, Jesus, I thank you. Like, I want to love you. I accept your mercy. I want to love you forever. Because God does not force anybody to love him. If in that moment the soul says, no, I don't want your handouts. Like, a lot of times it's because of pride. Like, they feel embarrassed that, like, Jesus did all this for them and, like, they messed up and they don't want to accept mercy. They'd rather just turn in on themselves and, like, have a pity party forever, which is a dangerous attitude to have. Some people have it these days, but like that's what it is. Like you have a choice. You have a choice in the end. Do you want to be in hell or do you want to be in heaven? You know the whole thing. You make the choice, like it's full freedom. You know that it's forever. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter like if you were baptized Christian or not. It doesn't matter if you were baptized Catholic and then you committed mortal sin and then you went to confession, but then you last minute committed mortal sin again. So like it's too late. The priest wasn't there. Like you're damned to hell. No, you're not damned to hell. All you have to do is accept Jesus' mercy because he's there, because he loves you, because he wants everybody to be saved, because he is all powerful and he can intervene in any way he wants. And he is the kind of God that's so radically in love with us that he would do anything to go after the lost sheep. Like that's how everything can be reconciled. This right here. Like if this isn't true, it's like, this is the only way that all those things can be reconciled. Like God is perfect mercy and love and power. Anyway, I wanted to share that because, it just brought me a lot of consolation and like, well, it doesn't change things like too much of like how like Christians should live their lives. Like, I just think it gives us like a real understanding of who God is, like a deeper understanding of who God is that'll allow us to grow closer to him and fall deeper and deeper in love with him. Because I know it did for me, like that. I think if any of us believe that like God is a check off the box kind of God, then like subconsciously we're going to be distant from him. Like subconsciously, or maybe even not so subconsciously, we're going to be really judgmental of the people around us. Like we're going to put ourselves in a box, like, and I don't know, I just want everybody to know that this is my God. He's amazing, and like, he loves you, he loves everyone, and I just want everybody to know that. And one day everybody will know that. But, I think if we all loved each other the way that he loved us, the way that he really loved us, and we all showed each other that same kind of love and tender compassion that he shows every soul at the moment of their death, then maybe those souls would want to come back to church. Maybe they wouldn't become so hardened like in sin, and they would start to love him, like not waiting until the moment of their death to begin to love him. And I think one last thing, when you know you've done something really bad, it can be really hard to accept love and mercy and gifts from the person that you hurt. But really, that's who we are before God, and we should get comfortable with it. We should get used to it, and like, we should realize too that with all our brothers and sisters in the world, like no matter what religion or branch of religion they are a part of, like we are all in this thing together. Like we have hurt God so much, and like we're deserving of hell, but he took it all upon himself, like and he's willing to just give us everything, like without us earning a thing, and we need to be okay with that. Like we need to learn to accept that. And none of us are any better than anybody else. The only thing that constitutes somebody who is holy, somebody who is saintly, somebody who is close to God and is a warrior of God is somebody who is willing to accept his mercy. That's really the gist of, that should be all of our goals. That's like the ultimate goal of anything, because we can't aspire to anything. That's it. If we practice accepting it now while we're still alive, then that moment of decision for us is going to be a really easy one, and it's going to be natural, and hopefully one that not one of us will hesitate on. Do we want to accept his mercy or not? Hello, it's me again from the future. I want to remind everyone watching this video that it's true that like the only thing we need to do in life is to accept Jesus' mercy and to say, yes, I want to love you forever, okay? But if you are watching this video, then the truth is that something has been given to you. Some knowledge has been given to you, and to whom much is given, much is expected. And what is asked of you is that you don't wait until the end of your life to begin to want to know and love Jesus, right? Accepting his mercy starts with admitting that we are sinners, and that his way is better than our way. Because his way says, follow the commandments. His way says, do what I tell you, and that's how you love me. And if we take that and we say, well, I'm going to do it my way, then that is pride, and that is hardening your heart, and that is conditioning your heart, truly, in the choice you make now during your life to decide that you want to keep living in the sin that you're living in deliberately. You are hardening your heart, and you have not very much of a chance that it's going to be softened in that last moment. I'm telling you this. it's been revealed also, like, to different mystics and everything, like, some hearts are so hardened. Jesus does tell Louisa that some hearts are so hardened in that moment that they say no, and you think your heart's not going to be hardened, you think it's going to be fine and mushy and you'll be able to change last minute. That is the demons telling you that. Yeah, start living a life as if you are having that moment right now. Like, you're being told all this right now. Not everybody is told all this right now. There is a reason in scripture that it says strive for the narrow road. Like, there is a reason that, yeah, Jesus says, like, you have to follow the commandments. So if I could close out with just a few things that I desire that people would take away is, one, do not think you're better than anybody else because you are in a better church than them or because exteriorly you're doing things the right way. Only God can judge hearts, and his compassion is incredible. We should try to imitate it the best that we can. Two, just realize the incredible love of God. Let everything that I, like, revealed, that was revealed really to St. Faustina and to Louisa first, like, let this just seep into your being and bring you consolation that this is the kind of God we have, like, that he is so loving, so tender, so compassionate. And three, don't trample on the loving and tender and compassionate heart of Jesus, because if you know this information, then it will hurt him so much more than if you didn't know this information. It breaks his heart. The people that most break Jesus's heart are his own children, because they presume his mercy. It's because they trample on his goodness. They know at least a sliver of how loving he is, and they decide to live their lives. If they decide to live their lives not for him in any way, then that really, really hurts him. And so, I, motivated by love of Jesus, like, first and foremost, like, I would hope that everyone would make a decision right here and right now that they no longer ever want to commit a deliberate sin ever again, no matter how small. Like, we will always have, like, imperfections. We will always be weak, like, in the moment. And, falling and getting back up again, that's one thing. And it's almost as if that doesn't even hurt Jesus, right? Intentional sin, though, always hurts Jesus so much. Even if it's so small. Like, do not trample on his merciful and loving heart by committing intentional sins, even if they don't seem like a big deal to you, because they break Jesus's heart. They break his tender, compassionate heart. And the more you realize just how loving and merciful and compassionate Jesus's heart is and how much he loves you, like, the more you understand how much he's so much more sensitive than we are. Like, because he loves so much, like, he is exponentially more heartbroken when people don't love him back, like, because of what a soft heart he has. That's the heart of God, and I want to protect it. I want you guys to know how amazing he is and how much it hurts him when we sin deliberately. So cut it out of your life. Please just cut it out. If you haven't made the decision that you don't want to sin anymore. It's the worst thing you could do. And if not for the love of God, please do it for the love of your own soul. I don't want you to end up in hell. I don't want Jesus to have to go through that heartbreak, because that heartbreak of a soul being lost and choosing to go into hell hurts him more than the passion, everything he suffered in the passion in his entire life. So, every deliberate sin, if you don't care about Jesus' heart, care about yourself, because I'm telling you that every deliberate venial sin hardens your heart. It takes you closer and closer and closer. The demons get a foothold on that until one day they drag you into a place where you're committing intentional mortal sins. This is how it happens. It's a slow boil. You think you're going to be able to handle it. You think it's going to be fine. You'll fix yourself later. Well, no, that's not how it works. That's what the demon's lying to you. They're telling you to presume God's mercy. They're telling you that it's not that big a deal. You don't have to work that hard to be saved. Like, no. I am begging you and I am pleading with you. Do not harden your heart by committing intentional sins, because this heart that you have right now is the only heart that you have. Be careful with it. The heart that you choose to have during your life is very likely the heart that you will have at that moment where time and eternity are meeting, and it is the heart that you will have for all of eternity. Do not wait, because if you are intentionally committing sins, your heart will only continue to get harder and harder and harder, and you will be ultimately too hard to choose to love God, and you will end up in hell for all of eternity, because the devils would have convinced you that that moment of death, Jesus is so merciful, he'll save you. Well, no, you would have hardened yourself so much against him that you don't even want him. And I know that seems like a stretch. I know that seems like something that's not going to happen, but souls are falling into hell like snowflakes. We know this. It's been revealed in Scripture. It's been revealed. Mary has come down from heaven and told children that souls are falling into hell like snowflakes. Do not be one of them. Be careful with your heart. It's the only one you have. Be careful with Jesus' heart, too. It's the only one he has.